Okay, thank you. So good morning to everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Professor Rupa Gunasekaran for very generous introduction. She said so well that I have been associated with Bharathiar University for many years, and we met several years ago. I still remember my pleasant sort of experience at Bharathiar School of Management and Entrepreneur Development. And I would like to thank Professor Uma Devi for the opportunity to share my experience in publishing journal papers. Also, Ms. Maria Trisita for helping me with the Google Meet, because this is the first time I'm using Google Meet. So here in the US, we use quite a lot the Zoom. And so my topic today, how to publish a journal paper. So I'm going to, as I said, share my experience. So first of all, why we should publish. So we want to disseminate our research and its findings to greater audience. If we publish a paper in a conference proceeding, so that will be limited to only, let us say, 200 to 300 readers or audience. If we publish a paper in a journal, so it will be sort of, we can have global audience. And also service to the profession and whatever the area we are working on, like I'm working in operations management, and some of you may be working in social science or engineering and arts and so on. So basically, we are serving the professional community. Recognition and appreciation. So once we publish a paper, so that has a lot of reach out, and also our fellow scholars recognize and also appreciate the process that we have gone through. And also it has been scrutinized by fellow experts in the field for its contribution and also the methodology and the conclusions and so on. And also contribution to the knowledge and the society. And we want to, continue to contribute to the society, whatever the area we are in. And also the material is trustworthy and permanent. Whatever the material the manuscripts or journal publications, it will be, trustworthy and permanent once we publish them in journals. And also whenever you apply for jobs or a permanent job and a promotion to associate professor, from assistant to associate and associate to full professor, so that then publishing in journals is a must. So what is the current status of publishing? So technology plays a major role. So about 30 years ago, when I started publishing, or in 1984, when I had my first journal article, it is called, the journal name is Journal of Engineering Production, published by IIT Delhi. So that was my first paper about 36 years ago. So those days, we write, whatever the manuscript, the ideas, after completing the research. It could be developing a mathematical model or experimental research or empirical or case studies and so on. So I submitted the paper and we received comments, and it took almost 1 year to have the feedback from the journal, the reviewers' comments. But nowadays with the technology, technologies including personal computers, laser printers, and online submissions, editorial processes and publishing, etc. So we can, expedite the whole process of starting the research or completing the research. Of course, doing research takes time, then writing ideas in the form of a manuscript, and then go through the number of revisions and submit a journal online, and then receive feedback, and then publish. So most of the processes are done by electronically or online. So because of that, researchers are producing more articles than never before. So you can see the number of journals has increased significantly in in almost all disciplines. If you look at in business, starting from accounting and then entrepreneurship and so on. So these include conceptual, analytical, and simulation models, case studies, empirical research, and also literature review, and so on. And as I said, the number of journals in each discipline has increased dramatically, both online and printed versions. But at the same time, publishing has become highly competitive as more people have access to literature and publish in journals. So I can give some examples. I mean, if you look at any analytics or statistics, how many journals in each of the disciplines, I'm sure many of you have already published in journals and have extensive experience, and you must have observed the number of journals has increased significantly. So that does not mean that we can easily publish our manuscript unless we produce quality paper. And not all the good research is published, as we know. So many research, many scholars just do the research, and they don't attempt to publish in journals. Maybe they have presented their papers at conferences and published in proceedings and so on. So how one can be successful in publishing journal articles? So I'm going to share my experience. As I said, Professor Rupa Gunasekaran said that I have published quite a few papers. So I can share with you the secret of success is, keep writing more and more papers and publishing them. So even now, I receive a lot of rejections. Even today, I received a rejection from a journal, and it's almost, regular kind of experiences, I should say. But I continue to write papers and submit to different journals. And so one can gain experience by submitting more papers. And I would say acceptance rate could be proportional to volume. But that may not be true. So if you submit 10 papers, at least, we will have, let's say, 30% acceptance, which means 3 articles. But that may not be the case, in every situation. So we have to produce quality manuscripts. And it's difficult to eliminate biases. So when you submit a paper from India or China to international journals, let's say they are published by Elsevier, Emerald, Taylor and Francis, John Wiley, Springer, and so on. So the editors, most of the editors are from those countries wherever they have those publishing houses have headquarters. And to an extent, they are biased. I must say that, because from my own experience, when I submitted my papers during my early part of my career, right after my PhD from IIT Mumbai in 1987, so I got almost 80 to 90% rejections. But I did not give up. I continued to take those comments in a positive spirit. And also they are all for professional kind of comments. And I try to improve my manuscript. And over the years, so I have been able to see a significant increase in the number of accepted papers versus a number of submitted papers. And so, I mean, how we can increase the number of publications. You may want to diversify your research portfolio. So if you're a PhD student, I would not recommend, because your focus should be, whatever the topic you have selected or chosen. But those are during the initial stage of the career, junior assistant professors. So they can get some few articles from their PhD thesis. And you can, in the beginning, you should stay concentrating on one or two fields. And what I do, I always present, earlier I should say, present my papers in conferences, so that I should, I can have the expert feedback and also networking opportunities with the other scholars in the same field. As you may have come across, some of those experts could be the reviewers of your journal papers. And many conferences publish special issues as post-conference publications. And so that is somehow, based on the papers presented, and there is a better chance of getting accepted. So let us get into some tips for publishing success, because I have, very limited time, and many papers are rejected simply because they don't fulfill journal requirement. They don't even go into the review process. So it is called a desk rejection. So whenever I receive a paper, for my journals, I'm also the editor of a few journals, and I have guest edited many journals for Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, and John Wiley, journals. So we have to make sure that we meet the minimum standards before we submit our manuscript to one of the international journals published by those popular publishing houses. So what we have to do, or what I do, read the author guidelines for a particular journal. So let us say you have developed a mathematical model, very comprehensive, and you have validated the mathematical model with a real life application or with using hypothetical data, and you have done a fantastic research. Okay, technically it is very strong and you have excellent results. That's great. So the real challenge I have come across with the many manuscripts that I receive from India, China, and also Europe and elsewhere is presentation. So, whenever we are writing a paper, we are not writing for us, because we know what exactly we have done and all the details and in-depth knowledge about the topic and the field and so on. So we are writing papers for others. That means whatever the message we want to convey with our research, whether it is related to the objective of the research or the scope of the research, and the justification for the research, and then the novelty of the theoretical framework and research questions or hypotheses, and how we have validated by empirical data collection and analysis, and the results obtained, and the concluding remarks, and so on. So we have to identify, the right home for our paper. If it, as I said, if it is a mathematical model in operations management, so what I would do, I will submit to Journal of Operational Research Society, Management Science, or Operations Research, European Journal of Operational Research, and so on. If it is a case study paper, so I may target, say, International Journal of Services and Operations Management, or International Journal of Production and Operations Management. So find where to send the paper, check journal homepages. I'm sure you know all these things, and send the outline or abstract and ask if this looks interesting. So if you're not sure, you can send an email to the editor of the journal for which you are really targeting your paper, just to send the title and abstract, ask him or her whether this paper falls within the scope of the journal. So they will be happy to, respond to your request. And also confirm how an editor would like a submission. Mostly nowadays, as you know, online submissions. So what I would, look at during my, writing 5 review questions. The readability is very, very important. Does it communicate the way we want? What are the ideas we have? And the way we write that may not, convey the message to others about our research. So originality, why was it written? So I have come across many articles citing references, 10-year-old references. And when I look at the literature reviews, so most of them are outdated. And when I look at, let's say, a mathematical model, after that, maybe 10-year-old mathematical model, they took it and applied to a real life situation. So we have to ask, what is the originality, the novelty or innovation of the research we have done? So whenever I do research, write a paper, or first, of course, we have to do research. So I want to make sure, so how this research, is different from others. Not only just for differentiation, but also how this will help the theory, advancing the theory, and also applications and supporting the local, supporting the organizations. Credibility, what is new and important about the topic or treatment? So the way we present the literature review for identifying the gaps and then justifying our own research topic and saying that, okay, no one has dealt with this particular problem or topic, and how I am going to, develop a theoretical framework or mathematical model, and how we are going to validate the mathematical model or theoretical framework by case studies or empirical research, or by using hypothetical data to conduct experiments to validate the hypotheses and answer the research questions. And also the conclusions, they should be in alignment with our research output, not just the conclusions. Conclusions should not stand separate from what the research we have done. And also methodology should be robust, and it should be appropriate, and it should be clear, and we should not over promise. Whenever we write a paper, we should not say, oh, we have used a novel research methodology, or we have used very comprehensive, like structured equation modeling, or Petri nets, or fuzzy logic, stochastic modeling, and so on. But if you have to deal with a deterministic problem situation, so we have to be modest in our writing, even if you have done a pioneer or pioneer research, but still, we have to put it in a way so that others should say that we have done a pioneer research. And most of the papers, this has started about 25 years ago. So we, earlier to that, we just developed a mathematical model, for example, for solving scheduling problem in a manufacturing environment, and we use some hypothetical data, and then we do some sensitivity analysis and present the conclusions and overall the results and analysis. But nowadays, including the top journals like operations research, management science, marketing science, and Academy of Management Review, and so on. So you may come up with a novel theoretical framework or conceptual model, but that has to be validated by applying to the real life environment, or by collecting data from from organizations. And how do they provoke further research? As I said, whenever I write a paper, I always want to make sure that paper really, sort of motivates the other scholars to continue the research based on the limitations that I have shared in my articles. Also, it should have international perspective. So your own peer review. So you have done the research, you have prepared your draft paper. So what I do whenever, at the beginning of my career, I used to print research papers in the same area, dealing with the same topics from top journals in the field, or well-known journals in the field, like IJPR, Journal of Operations Management, Management Science, Operations Research, and so on. Then I simply follow the format of that to make sure that we have all the ingredients to have the minimum standard, so that we will not get a desk rejection of our paper. And you can show your draft to one or more friends or colleagues, your PhD supervisor and fellow PhD students, or junior assistant professors, and so on, and to take their comments, positively, and also I believe they are honest criticisms, and that will certainly improve the quality of your manuscript. And always proofread thoroughly, no misspellings, no incomplete references. I have my own job, as professor and also dean, and I'm also taking care of some journals as an editor. So what I do, because I don't want to waste my reviewers' time by assigning the papers that paper does not meet the minimum standard, a lot of spelling errors and incomplete references, and the research and analysis. Results and analysis is just a one page. The title is not precise or concise to accurately represent the content of the paper, and they have not provided, complete affiliation details, and also the format and so on. I can go on. So I simply reject, because, I don't want to sort of accept papers that do not meet the minimum standards. I worked with many scholars, all over the globe. So I spend quite a bit of time, because on one hand, I need articles to sustain the journal publications, but at the same time, I have to maintain the quality of articles. Finally, make sure your references are up to date. No one will publish research that is 4 or 5 years old. So that is very important. I repeatedly ask my authors, so please update your references, literature review, with the latest references. And they keep coming with a couple of references, still it is 5 to 10 years old. And use descriptive, eye-catching titles. As I said, less is more. And I have seen 3 or 4 lines, and it's like a paragraph. So nobody is going to, so they don't say positively, including the reviewers and the editor. Write clear and descriptive structured abstracts. Abstract is very important, because the abstract will motivate the editor, of course, or generate the interest of the editor and also the reviewers. So you have to tell the background for the research, and also the research gaps in the field, and the justification for your research, and what the research you have done. You developed a mathematical model or conducted empirical research, and then the key results obtained, and then conclusions. The same abstract. So, for example, interscience journals expect like descriptive abstract, not a structured abstract. Emerald journals expect structured abstracts. And relevant keywords. The keywords are important. Sometimes I have seen 10 keywords, and they are not related to the research done or the manuscript. So you may restrict the number of keywords, and they should precisely reflect the content of your paper. So when I say relevant, because why the keywords are important, so once published, the other scholars look for articles, let's say they're dealing with the business process reengineering, digital marketing, social media marketing, or new management concepts or whatever it is. So you have to use the right keywords in order to attract the other scholars to read your paper or use your paper and also cite your paper. Make your references complete and correct. So many I have come across the references do not follow the journal's style, and also incomplete and incorrect references. Clean manuscript. The format should be consistent, including the title, subtitle, subtitles, major titles, and also the figures should have clarity. The tables should be aligned very well. So all those things are necessary to produce a clean manuscript. And read publisher copyright statements prior to submission. So a request, once you submit your paper and wait for a while, and it has passed the initial screening, that means you have crossed the first step, and the editor will assign a few reviewers, those who are expert in the field. And after a couple of months, of course, the editors keep pressurizing the reviewers, to complete the review processes. So we want to be responsive to our authors, expectations in terms of returning with that feedback from reviewers. A request for revision is good news. So once you receive, revise and resubmit your paper, that means you almost crossed 60% of the publishing cycle. So you are now in the publishing cycle. Nearly every published paper is revised at least once, but nowadays, minimum 3 times. And if you are targeting, say, top 10 journals in your field, so you have to revise at least 2 to 3 times. Even after 3 times, I have got rejected. My papers got rejected. So I did not give up. So I still, take into account those comments, continue to improve the paper. Then I used to target or submit better than whatever the previous journals I tried. And please don't be panic. So once you receive, sometimes they say, oh, your paper is not acceptable in its current format. So you're expected to address the comments of reviewers. So please don't panic. So you just go through the comments, and most of the time they are very sharp and sometimes discouraging. So you should not take it personal. They are honest, because you should say that the reviewers, obviously like us, they are faculty or professors, and they have to do their own research, they have to teach, and they have to do the university service and so on. And after all those things, and their families, and so they are trying to help us by reading our papers and providing honest feedback in order to improve the quality of our research paper, so that we are going to sort of get all the recognition and appreciation from the audience. So how to revise the paper? acknowledge the editor and set a revision deadline. So, and if you don't understand some of the comments, please write to the editor seeking clarification, and consult with your co-authors or colleagues who have experience and also working in the same, more or less in the same field, and address the feedback you have received. But don't take those comments lightly. So I have seen many articles when we asked to revise and resubmit, so with major comments. And you can see the resubmission within a week or 2 weeks. So from that, you should be able to figure out how much time they would have, spent on the revision, and also took the reviewers' comments seriously in order to do a comprehensive revision of the paper. So we simply reject, because having given a chance, the authors did not take the opportunity, serious enough. So we reject the paper because, I spent quite a bit of time providing, several opportunities, keep telling them in a very simple language, and they keep submitting, just making cosmetic changes without making, the major changes required or major revision required in order to make the paper publishable in an international journal. And please don't rush your revision, even if it is a minor revision. So just take your own time. So that is the last opportunity, for your final opportunity for you to get a quality manuscript to the editor. And attach a cover letter which identifies point by point, or reply to reviewers. And also sometimes the editor or associate editors, have their own comments, and you have to take care of them as well in your reply to reviewers and also editors. So if you get rejected, ask why and listen carefully. Most editors will give detailed comments for a rejected paper. If not, ask, take a deep breath, and listen to what is being said. So don't take it personally, as I said. So you go through several times, and then you will see they are genuine, honest criticisms and feedback in order to really help you to come up with a quality manuscript that is of the international standard. Don't give up, even if they get rejected. Okay, so try again to improve the paper based on by revising the paper to address the comments, and resubmit elsewhere. Do your homework and target your paper as closely as you can. So at least 50% of the papers in business and management do not get published. So the only success, to have more success in your publishing and more citations, you keep writing. So as I said, I published my first paper in 1984. It's almost 36 years. I'm still continue to publish because I really enjoy publishing. And the preparation and the submission, select a suitable journal, the right home for your paper. You don't want to waste your time. There are many popular publishing houses. Follow the guidelines of the journal. Aim for the right home. The length of the paper should be, optimum. So many journals ask you, okay, not to exceed 8,000 words or 10,000 words, leaving the tables, figures, references, and so on. And also I have come across, I have experienced, many papers use bullet points. They think that by using, the whole paper with the bullet points, they can easily convey the message or small paragraphs. So there should be a flow of ideas, and provide evidence for your arguments or claims. And sit on the finished version for a week or two and revisit again, and you will see a lot of missing elements by yourself. And make sure the abstract, introduction, the conclusions read well, because the editor, when they do the the initial screening, they look at the abstract. If the abstract is not conveying or it has some errors, and also the title of the paper and introduction is not presented, I'm sorry, introduction is not presented in a way that leads to the research you have done in a convincing manner, and the conclusions, are not aligned with the rest of the paper. It's just in isolation, and it should not have any spelling errors. And we try to avoid grammatical errors as much as possible. And as I said, the format, so I have received a couple of papers from Morocco through my friends. And I have seen, the table with the zigzag, they are not aligned properly. The diagrams or whatever the flow chart, they are not done properly. It tells, the authors are not really serious about quality, publications or manuscript. And reduce citations of your own papers. Rejection and revision, try again when your paper got rejected. If your referee misunderstood your paper, it could be your fault, and do not get upset, and try to address all the comments in a comprehensive manner. Don't rush your revisions. And while revising the paper, be optimistic and do your best, and prepare a detailed response to all reviewers. And also, please don't attack. Attack means verbally, your reviewers, okay, this is a stupid comment. Our scope is different and we don't have to worry about that. So don't write. You can say, oh, thank you for your comments. However, the scope of a paper is slightly different from that. In our future research, certainly we would, consider the suggestion or something like that. So resubmit the revised paper within 3 to 5 months, and do not rush within a month or so, and carefully address the comments of the editor as well. So this tells, general information. Manuscript should be complete in terms of its contents. You can see abstract, introduction, background for the research, or literature review, research methodology, theoretical framework, research objectives, hypotheses, empirical analysis, summary of findings, and conclusions, references. You don't have to follow exactly what I have listed, so it can be different depending upon the type of research you have done and also the type of journal you are looking at and so on. So please provide complete affiliation details and your address and also contact numbers. So thank you. So this is about my presentation. I don't know how much time we have for question and answers. Can you hear me? I'm not able to hear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm hearing you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was a very wonderful, elaborate presentation, sir.
Thank you. I think I took more time than what I was given originally. Sorry for that.
Really great. Sir, can we hold on for a while for question hour session, because our Vice Chancellor would join the meeting right now
Sure.
for his presidential address. Honorable Vice Chancellor is already waiting over there to join us.
Sure. No
okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am? Oh, ma'am?
ஒரு ஸ்பீக்கர் தான் கொடுத்துடலாம். ஓகே கட் பண்ணி ஃபோன் கட் பண்ணி
மேம் ஆடிபிளா இருக்குங்களா மேம்?
Audible, Prasant, audible.
எஸ் மேம், சார் பிளேஸ் பண்றேன் மேம், ஒரே நிமிஷம் மேம்.
Okay, okay. Layout mark. Lastல 3 dots இருக்கு.
Go ahead. Volume.
மேம்
பேசுறது கேக்குது. பேச ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கீங்க.
உங்களுக்கு மியூட்ல இருக்கு, தெரியாம தெரியும்.
Can you just unmute it? Please go ahead.
Now it's clear. Very good morning, sir.
Morning.
Sorry, sir.
Good morning, all of you. I take privilege in welcoming our Honorable Vice Chancellor. We are very happy to have you here on 7-day workshop, sir. Welcome you once again, and I'm handing over the mic to Dr. Uma Devi for having a brief introduction on our Honorable Vice Chancellor, about our Honorable Vice Chancellor.
Very, very brief, not exceeding
Sir,
60 seconds.
Sir, give us privilege to talk a few sentences about you, sir. It's our great honor. Thank you so much.
Very good morning, sir. It is my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. P. Kalirath, sir, who is always a vibrant leader and a kind mentor. Bharathiar University, as well as we all, are really blessed with such an active visionary as our Vice Chancellor. Professor is pride of Tamilnadu, is hailing from Virudhunagar district, and he is a pride alumnus of University of Nagpur, Madras University, Chennai, Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai. Sir has held many great positions such as Professor and Director of Center for Biotechnology, Anna University, Research Director, Span Research Center, Surat. Sir's remarkable fellowships are from American Society for Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, USA, Royal Society of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene, UK. Sir's contribution to R&D include 41 PhDs produced, 3 patents owned, 3 products developed, out of which 1 is commercialized, around 100 research publications, and he has served as the chief editor of Science and Technology Encyclopedia Series Tamil version. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor has completed successfully around 20 projects, total worth of 1900 lakhs, that is 19 crores. His international visits include twice to the USA, twice to Germany and Dubai and UK. Sir has been conferred with 8 awards, such as Senior Scientist Oration Award by Indian Immunology Society, Lifetime Achievement Award by Biotechnology Research Society of India, Dr. B.N. Singh Memorial Oration Award by Indian Parasitology Society, Dr. B.P. Pandey Memorial Oration Award, BRSI Industrial Medal of Biotechnology Research Society of India, Professor B.K. Aikat Oration Award by ICMR, 2 fellowship awards, one by National Academy of Biotechnology Sciences and another by Biotechnology Research Society of India. I am glad to welcome you, sir, to this August gathering. Now I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to deliver his presidential address to the audience. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Respected Dr. Rupa Gunasekaran, Director. Respected Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran, Dean and Professor of School of Business and Public Administration, California State University, USA. Respected Dr. Ravinder Rena, Professor of Northwest University, South Africa. Faculty members of BSMED, faculty members from other academic institutions, students of our university and other academic institutions. Good morning to all of you, and I'm very happy to be here to inaugurate the 7 days online faculty development program on research methodology, data analysis, reporting, and publication perspectives, which we are going to have it from 20th July to 26th July 2020. It's the most important aspect. Whoever is involved in research, they should know how to handle the methodology of research and what is the concept and what kind of methodology has to be used, and data analysis, reporting, and other aspects are very, very important for publications. When you go for the research should be a controlled research. It should be enables the researchers to test and compare different theories and approaches to explore the various methods of finding solutions. If you are not able to find solutions, there is no point in doing research. And the solution will come only when the data is analyzed properly. What kind of data you have to use, what is the sample size, what should be the number of samples one has to use. And in some areas like biomedical research, it might not be possible to go for a large number of samples, especially when you go for analysis of some of the therapeutic follow-up of some cancer therapy or some therapy for some ailment. So there, what kind of data analysis has to be used? In some of the data like, rainfall, then GIS analysis, you need a large number of data. And what kind of methodology has to be used, and how this methodology has to be make it both qualitative and quantitative. There are some areas there is a need for qualitative analysis. There are some areas you have to go for quantitative analysis. When you are going for the business analysis, I think you know about the current pandemic situation, what kind of business strategy one has to adapt, and what kind of analysis you have to have from the present business in comparing with the past one, and how you are going to have your business in the future. So it is not only for the faculty members, even for the students, it is very important. It is useful for, there are many types of analysis like your text analysis, statistical analysis, diagnostic analysis, predictive analysis, and perspective analysis. One has to be very, very careful in handling the data in the best possible way so that it will be possible for you to make your research work useful to the society and for the economical development. I'm happy there are different students and faculty from different parts of the country, like Karnataka, Kerala, West Bengal, Delhi, Gujarat, Arunachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Pondicherry, Telangana, Nagaland, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Assam, of course, our own Tamil Nadu. I'm extremely happy. Two of the speakers, Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran and Dr. Ravinder Rena, they are pioneer in that field, and they will be more useful to the people who are listening to the lecture. I wish that it is not only for listening to the lecture, I want you to be more interactive, and it will be more useful for the future academic collaboration as well as research collaboration. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity. Wish you all the best.
Honorable Sir, I would like to say that we have established communications with Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran Sir, University of California for future collaborations. And Sir also shown tremendous interest in coming closer to Bharathiar University and making it happen. So we can, with your permission, with your blessings, we would like to go further on this, Sir.
Why don't you sign the MOU today online?
Yes, I can do that.
Because we don't have time. We don't have time. Yeah,
Excellent, sir.
about 9 months. Most of the things are happening during the pandemic period. There is
Yes,
no need of people. They have to travel from place to place, and the interview is happening in online. And if the pandemic is not there, people would have not accepted the online methodology, and it would have not been possible to have Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran to listening to so many number of people from so many states. And I wish this will bring at least one or two MOU as well as globalization and future academic in terms of joint, academic program, joint research program, and the university is very keen to, go for that. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Vice
much,
Chancellor, Dr. Kaliraj, for your
We are taking up
encouragement.
your direction, sir. We'll work it out immediately with the acceptance of Angappa Gunasekaran sir on this day.
Yeah, he has already accepted.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chancellor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for your speech and blessings. Thank you so much, sir. I'm happy to welcome our chief guest, the next chief guest, Dr. Ravinder Rena. He has now joined. So, sir, before your session, shall we have question and answer session to Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran, sir?
Sure,
sir,
madam.
Shall
Please
we
go ahead.
invite
Thank
a
you.
few questions? Yes, sir. And
Fine.
I request the participants to raise your few questions or given preferences. So now over to the participants. Yes, Babu sir, please.
Madam, thank you very much for having a wonderful session like this. And I'd like to extend my wholehearted thanks to Dr. Angappa Gunasekaran for giving a very clear picture about the my question, madam, it's about there are two types. Sometimes we are writing the case study methods. We are going to the field and taking the experience of the people, and these experience are being shared with the journals and all. So in this particular case, what are some of the what do you call, like the praise steps, or is there any different particular format for writing the case study method research publication and all? So this is a question to you. Kindly clarify.
So thank you, Dr. Ravinder. About the case study research, actually, so sometimes, so you have a theoretical, whatever the framework or model, and you want to experiment in a real life situation, or you want to study a particular sort of a problem situation in detail. So then case study research is the right methodology, to sort of employ upon. And there are many journals encourage the case study papers. But when you do the case study, the case study, of course, it has its own contribution because you have to go to a company or an organization, collect data, analyze, and come up with some conclusions and how whatever the findings could be applied to other kind of cases or situations. So before the case study, you have to do a lot of background work. So you have to come up with a model or a methodology or a tool to solve the problem situation. Like, so I have developed a mathematical model for optimizing production batch size in a manufacturing environment. So I have tested the mathematical model with the hypothetical data. So it did not fly with the reviewers or journals because I have targeted European Journal of Operational Research. So, and they said reject, of course, in the beginning, they said, it's not adequate. So you have to really apply the model in a real life situation. Then I had to go to Century Rayon in Kalyan near Mumbai. So where I have collected data and then used that data as input to my kind of mathematical model and then come up with the results and then analysis and also recommendations and so on. So it went very well actually. So before case study, you have to have a strong theoretical contribution as well. Not simply a case study will go into one of the top 10 journals. If you're targeting with high impact factor journals, then you have to have other ingredients.
Sir, we have a question from a participant, Hina. Our question is that please guide how to increase citations.
Oh yes, that's all the keywords, of course. And we have to do quality research and also publish, in good journals. And also you have to write, review papers from time to time. Review papers usually receive good number of citations because it has all the the references in one place for other scholars refer to. So in that case, it will receive good number of citations. In fact, some of my review articles have received a good number of citations because though I have not used any comprehensive nowadays, scholars, they use different software and analytics, tools to come up with a lot of statistics and then conclusions. Those days, so as I said, 34 years I have been in right after my PhD. So I used to write literature review, just to read the papers and then critically review each of the papers and then identify the gaps, come up with future research directions. And it was well received. Some of my review articles are well received because of the ideas. And no one has thought, we have to continue to, or we have to pursue our research in order to, let's say, come up with production batch sizes for minimizing total production cost in a manufacturing environment. So I'm talking about my field. And also I came up with the performance measures and metrics for a supply chain environment. So when I wrote that paper with my master's students, he worked only for 3 months. And we have published the papers, received almost 5,000 citations. He's just worked for only 3 months as part of his MSc in Advanced Manufacturing Systems at Brunel University in Great Britain. So I was there for 3 years and he came to me. He's originally from Ahmedabad. Of course, he returned to Gujarat and he started his own software company and so on, doing well. So we received almost 5,000 citations. So when I said, each paper, whatever you do, and you have to critically think, come up with, ideas that not many people or many scholars thought in that way. However, those ideas have relevance for solving practical problems for supporting, the local organizations, including manufacturing and service or not-for-profit organizations with reference to their efficiency, productivity, quality, and so on.
Sir, the next question is from Dr. Delina. She is asking that sometimes the review process takes a very long time. It takes up from 6 months to 1 year. What is the ideal time to wait for the first decision review process, sir? For the first decision.
Thank you. That's a good question. So, as an editor, so I expect at least the authors should give, let's say, 3 months. But I start receiving, the kind of reminders from authors right after a few weeks. And sometimes, these publishers of journals have their own screening system for plagiarism and so on. So it takes a while to screen the manuscripts. It takes almost a month before I get, I see the manuscript or manuscripts in my account. Then I start sending to reviewers. So I would like to share, sometimes some important information with our wonderful audience. I know they have already outstanding experience and highly accomplished scholars. I have great respect for our, Indian scholars. As I said, they do outstanding research, technical research, developing highly mathematical model using stochastic modeling, fuzzy logic, and also analytics, experimental research. So there we have, challenges when it comes to comparing the other scholars is presentation. So, so that is sort of something, we had to work on it. And I would wait for a few months. And also when we submit, some journals will ask you, suggest, reviewers or experts in your field. And I have seen many authors, they suggest from their own institution or institutions, and also the scholars, who are very familiar and so on. I understand those things we cannot avoid, but we have to have, the reviewers from different countries and from whom you really get feedback to improve the quality of your paper or manuscript.
And I request participants, you may ask straight if you have any questions. Participants?
Hello, madam. Can I ask a question?
Yes. Carry on.
My name is Dr. Venugopal. I'd like to ask sir whether the best empirical analysis tool, SPSS, R programming, Excel, etc. Because I know only one or two of these. Which is the best, and under what circumstances we should be using a particular tool?
Yes, that's a good question. In fact, my fellow scholars are in my teams, or whatever the teams I'm part of it. So I should not say my teams. So they use SPSS, obviously, one of the sort of popular statistical tools. And to my knowledge, the SPSS, and I know there are other statistical tools available, and I have, kind of limited knowledge about it. So if you look at, methodology perspective, of course, it depends upon the topic we select. So for example, in operations management, if I'm working the area of, let's say, about productivity and the quality at the operational level, top floor level, then I will go for mathematical, modeling as a methodology or simulation. And if I'm looking at the higher level, like a strategic, kind of decisions and so on, in that case, I may go for empirical research and also case studies for operational level kind of decisions or research.
Thank you, sir. Due to the time constraint, shall we fix that as the last question?
Sir, good morning, sir. Hello.
Okay, let us
morning.
fix this question as last one. Please
Good morning,
participate.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning.
I'm Dr. Anand. Sir, I want to ask a question. How to choose a title? What is the length of the title? First, and the second question is when there is no literature for the title, how to make study? Suppose you take example COVID. Say from December you are seeing. Now the one is coming, literatures are coming, so and so some journals. But how to extend my study in that area?
Yes, actually, about the title, there is no, of course. I mean, I would say, let's say 8 words could be, optimum. And those 8 words are very critical because I have rejected myself many papers. When I look at the title, it's almost a paragraph. So the authors think that we want to be explicit. Anybody can look at the title, so they can see what we have done. Within the rest of the manuscript, but it should be short and accurate. Accurate means it should reflect accurately the content of the paper. So just make it 8 words maximum, Dr. Anand. And also about the literature, how to find adequate literature on a new topic. So, for new topic, they don't expect because the topic itself is new. It's an opportunity for you. When I wrote, I did a research about performance measures and metrics for a supply chain environment. So at that time, there were not many articles, but there were a number of articles about performance measures and metrics in a traditional manufacturing environment or service environment. So I have used some of those metrics and also articles. And then I looked at the characteristics of supply chain and what sort of performance measures and metrics would be suitable. I'm not saying that they will be entirely different, but there will be some new measures and metrics that we have to come up with so that will help the managers to design and develop and run an effective and a productive supply chain.
It's a very vital message as far as title is concerned, sir. We are used to write paragraphs as title.
One last question. Yeah. Okay.
As our director is having another meeting at 11 o'clock, I now request our director to say a few words about our Professor Ravinder.
Good morning all once again. It is my pleasure again to welcome our guest of the day, Dr. Ravinder Rena sir, for this wonderful event. Sir, welcome you, and India is proud of you because you are serving another country with a lot of laurels affixed with you. And I could see you have reached top 1.10% of researchers, and that gives a lot of interest and delightfulness for people like us who are aspiring to become researchers, very notable researchers in future time period. So I also could understand that your Google Scholar citations is 902, which is very high when compared to the aspirants and researchers of India. We have to go a long way. That's what we can understand, because research and quality research, we started little late. Awareness or eye-opening came just a decade before, and we are gaining momentum and grasping the speed, and we are trying to make the quality researchers highly possible in Indian universities also. And your H index is also amazing, sir, 17, and I10 index, IH index is 13. So with all these laurels, I could understand you have produced a lot of PhDs and MPhil scholars and panel member or chairperson in various academic and professional conferences in different universities across globe. So your prevalence in various countries is really giving a clear note about your capacity and academical qualities, academical qualities. So with this note, I once again take privilege and I'm honored to welcome you, sir, to this 7 days workshop, data analysis workshop. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you very much.
Sir, before we start, I would like to thank Professor Angappa Gunasekaran, who accepted our invitation, and he joined in the very late evening. So that is, we are very much grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Ravinder sir to start your special address, sir. Thank you so much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Can you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Audible. You're clear.
Yes, that's right. Good morning, Vanakkam and Prem Namaskar to all the participants across the country, across probably different parts of the world. It's indeed a proud. Can you able to hear me?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you.
Yes, we can hear.
Yes, it is indeed a proud honor and privilege for me to be part of this faculty development program organized by Bharathiar University, Coimbatore, Tamilnadu, India. At the outset, I would like to take the opportunity to thank the university, particularly the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P. Kaliraj, and Dr. Rupa Gunashilan, and also Dr. Uma Devi for inviting me for this wonderful opportunity. I also should thank our research scholar, Miss Maria Paul, also to take the initiation for me to be connected with. So I also should thank the participants from different corners of the country, from Kolkata to Coimbatore and Coimbatore to Chennai and Bihar, probably Odisha, Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, and other states of India. Indeed, it's also an exciting and proud privilege for me while I'm sitting in my office in South Africa, that I can able to see you and be with you, probably those of you sitting in UK, and Professor Angappa Gunasekaran sitting in USA, and probably a few other people in other parts of the world. So thanks to the technology for giving that kind of wonderful opportunity. Whenever we attend conferences, we only be there in one place at one time, but we can be there in different places simultaneously because of the technology. And so I think I was speaking in one of the international conferences organized by University of Buremi, where more than 30 countries people take part in that conference. So I also had a wonderful privilege in addressing such kind of gatherings. Without wasting much time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share some of my thoughts and insights pertaining to the research. And as I listened to Professor Angappa Gunasekaran, to whom I know for many years, but it is indeed also a privilege for me to sit in between such a stalwarts, who made their journey so successfully to USA, and probably is one of the renowned researchers and across the globe, where his citations were more than 44,000. So that speaks a lot about you, sir. And also, sitting between other stalwart, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor P. Kaliraj, who got 3 patent rights and who is also a stalwart, probably got so much grants, research grants, close to 19 crores. So that is probably greatest moment for me as well. And I just would like to share with you some of my views. And in fact, I'm also need to go maybe in about 40 minutes time to another meeting. But then in the meantime, I do accept this invitation because of the importance of the research. So research is always close to my heart. And now let me take you to give you the overall picture of what is happening about this research. I'm not going to use any PowerPoint as such. I'm also probably comfortable in speaking various pertinent issues about the research. So if we look at the research, research and the researcher cannot be de-linked and cannot be separated. Probably once we have the ability and the interest and ambition to do the research, so research and the researcher will always get together with each other. But this research, somebody will ask me a question, why do we do the research? And then they will say that, probably to get a master's degree or a MPhil degree or a PhD degree. So that is the kind of, probably ambition to get an academic degree, to do the research. But it's not only that. I'd like to mention in this context that we all know the leaders are known in their own countries, but the scholars are known in the world. For example, now Prime Minister Narendra Modi, probably known in India, maybe a few other countries, in Asia and maybe in Africa and so on, but is not known everywhere in the world. For example, if you take Einstein, Albert Einstein, or Shakespeare, and some of those great scientists that we have, or Newton. So these are the people known almost everywhere in the world. Whoever studied about physics, whoever studied in the schools, colleges, and so on, we all learn about Shakespeare, about Albert Einstein, about Isaac Newton, and so on and so forth, Thomas Alva Edison. So what is the difference between these people? I mean, Isaac Newton died probably many years ago, and Albert Einstein also died probably about 70 years back or so. But nonetheless, we still talk about them, we still read about them, we still learn about their scientific contributions. So that is why my point of concern here is that, ladies and gentlemen, that if you are a leader, maybe political leader like an MLA, a member of Legislative Assembly, or a member of Parliament, and maybe a minister or a prime minister or the president, you will be mostly known in your locality, in your own region, in your own nation. But if you are a scholar, then it is obvious that you will be known to the world. With that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have so many scholars across the globe, renowned scholars like Marie Curie. Marie Curie is the only lady who got 2 Nobel Prizes, probably in 1908 and 1913 somewhere. So that speaks about the radiation, probably the contribution she made to the radiation technologies is immense, and we still remember her. So, and if we take the Nobel laureates across the globe, that also speaks. I would like to mention a few important things here, that India also got Nobel laureates. If I ask the question that how many Nobel laureates India has got, and people, they may give me a different answer, different figures. We got, somebody may say we got 2, we got 5, or we got 7, or we got 10, or we got 14, and so on and so forth. So what is the actually Nobel laureates, the Indian Nobel laureates? Now look at that, although the Nobel Prizes started somewhere in 1900, 1901, probably for the past 120 years, the Nobel Prizes have been awarded for the excellent research. Now, the excellent research, in a sense that does that mean we need to publish hundreds and thousands of articles? As Professor Gunasekaran mentioned, that he has published quite probably a good number of articles. And so we do have scholars that they contributed maybe 13, 1400 articles or probably 2000 articles also, one individual. But to get a Nobel Prize, you don't need to the volume as such. Let's say maybe you got about 5 or about 8 articles that you require, or some of those immense and powerful contributions, research rigorous contribution that one can make. And now, if I go back to the Indian Nobel laureates, I must say the fact that the first Nobel laureate and the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in literature was Rabindranath Tagore for the Gitanjali, probably about 1913 or somewhere there. Now, he's the Indian and he got the Nobel Prize. And then after 17 years down the line, we got Sir C.V. Raman for the Raman effect on the light and the scientific discoveries that he made for the light, scattered light and so on. So he also got Nobel Prize in physics. So that is one of the noteworthy thing that we need to remember. Sir C.V. Raman is the alumni of Presidency College affiliated to Madras University. I was part of that as one of the chief guests during January this year to that centenary celebrations. So that is the Nobel Prize that we received, a person who studied, who grew up, who did the research, and who could able to win the Nobel Prize. That is the pride moment for us, ladies and gentlemen. It's an indigenous, Indian-made Nobel Prize. And then what Nobel Prizes that we have? When we look at the list of people that they got Nobel Prizes, then we got Hargobind Khurana, who was a physicist and who was in the medical field. He got Nobel Prize in 1968. So Hargobind Khurana, he was settled, though probably has some Indian origin and Indian relationship, but he settled somewhere in USA. And now the controversy comes here, whether the Nobel Prize belongs to India or to USA and so on. Now the same goes with, we got Nobel Prize for Mother Teresa. She got probably for peace and international understanding, and sometimes in 1970s. And then we have the other prize, Subramaniam Chandrasekhar. Subramaniam Chandrasekhar got Nobel Prize in 1983. And he's also probably, he born somewhere in Pakistan, Lahore, and then he moved to USA. He did the research, and then he got the Nobel Prize in 1983. So what does that say? That so they are all probably Indian born and maybe moved to USA, and then they got the Nobel Prizes. Now then we got another Nobel Prize in economics. A first Asian economist who received the Nobel Prize was none other than Professor Amartya Kumar Sen. And he got Nobel Prize in 1998, about 22 years ago. So he's also the same case like Subramanian Chandrasekhar. So he didn't get the Nobel Prize while he was still holding the Indian nationality as such. Then we have the other Nobel Prize that we got sometime in 2009 by Venkata Ramakrishnan, from also originally hailed from Tamilnadu state. And then he probably is also in the US, UK, and then he got the Nobel Prize. Now we have yet another Nobel Prize, Kailash, we got for his international peace and understanding in 2014. So that is probably in a different spectrum and different kind of area. And then we have another Nobel Prize we got to Abhijit Banerjee in economics last year. So he's also born and brought up in the Bengal area, West Bengal. And then he moved to USA and he got Nobel Prize along with his wife, Esther. So this is broadly, if I would like to give you some kind of understanding, the Nobel Prizes, how many Nobel Prizes that we got, then literally we should say we got only 2 or 3 Nobel Prizes, Rabindranath Tagore, C.V. Raman, and maybe Kailash and Mother Teresa, though she's from somewhere in Europe, but she's an Indian national when she got. The remaining Nobel Prizes probably, they're all Indian origin, but they are all associated or they are having the foreign nationalities the time when they received the Nobel Prize, including Abhijit Banerjee. So I think that is the kind of a situation we are sitting with. But when we look at the scholars and the amount of students that we produce, India produces, we do have reputed scholars who are working across the globe. We have so many deans now. Professor Angappa Gunasekaran is the Dean of School of Business and Public Administration, California State University, one of the top 10 universities in the world. So we do have Harvard University Business School was also headed by Nitin Ora from Maharashtra, who hailed from IIT Mumbai until recently. So if you take major universities, they are headed, I mean, the business schools or some of the management schools, they have been headed by the Indian origin or Indian national, leaders, academic leaders. And we do have like Sundar Pichai also come from Chennai. And so I must acknowledge that, ladies and gentlemen, here, the Nobel Prizes that we got only from 2 states. So meaning that we have brighter scholars from Tamil Nadu and also brighter scholars from West Bengal. So we must acknowledge that. So if you look at those Nobel Prizes and all the other great scholars that we have, they come from these 2 particular states. So now, I also would like to mention that we have Sundar Pichai, we have Satya Nadella, we have so many other CEOs, even CEO of MasterCard, CEO of Adobe, CEO of Nokia. The list goes on. And all those CEOs, they are from India, actually. So we do have corporate leaders one side. We have academic leaders on the other side. They all come from India. So that is absolutely a pride moment for us. But now when we look at the amount of research that India has been carrying out and the international standing, so where we are standing internationally in terms of our research, that is the fundamental question, and I would like to share some insights pertaining to that. Okay, let us talk about the global research and the globe in general. And then I take you back to the Indian context. So if we take probably, there are 10 countries in the world. They are the probably largest economies in the world, and they are the top 10 countries with research standing. Now, for instance, America. America is the largest economy. We all know that they contribute about 25% of the total GDP of the world. Now, if you look at the total top-rated R&D, research and development scientists, America is standing first with about 25% of the total researchers of the world. And Japan used to have about 12-13% of the top researchers. China is stepping in, and China is also one of the top countries. In fact, it's going to surpass America very soon in terms of the top research and development. About 22% of the top researchers also coming from China. Now, then we have countries like Germany, also 3, and then we have UK, United Kingdom. We have got Switzerland, Canada, and probably Australia. And so these are the countries, they remain to be, even South Korea as well. So from India, we do have 2 countries, from Asian continent, we have got 2 countries that are in the top 10 research-based powerful countries in the whole world. That is Japan and South Korea. Now, where India is standing? In the top 10, we are not there. Whereas, if we look at in the top 10 economies, we are there. Let us say, if you look quickly into the top 10 economies, we have America, as I mentioned just now, 25%. China is the second largest economy with about $14.5 trillion. Then we got Japan about 7.6 trillions, third largest economy. Then we have Germany about 4.2 trillions, UK about 2.9 trillions, and India is the sixth position, sitting with about 2.7 trillions. So we all know that, ladies and gentlemen, India is to contribute immensely for the global economy. Probably about 250 years ago, we used to contribute 40% of the total GDP of the world. Whereas later we were contributing 25%. What America is contributing today, India was alone contributing to the global GDP, what 220. Now it is a complete change, and now we moved down. We are not even contributing 5% of the total income of this world. From 40%, we went down to 5%. So that is absolutely every one of us, we begin to think about it. Now let us see the magnitude, the research that has been carried out across the globe. The Nobel Prizes is one of the parameters, that the number of Nobel Prizes that a university receives, a country receives, and that will keep the university in an international ranking on the top ranking positions. For example, Harvard University, Stanford University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and maybe California State University, and some of those universities, they are ranking, always they are ranking in the top. Why? What making them? Are they really better than Indian institutions, or what absolutely contributing for that? If you look at the top 10 universities in the world, 7 universities coming from America alone. If you take top 20 universities, 15 of them are coming from America alone. So the simple reason is that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to mention to you, that we all know that it's not a probably a secret, it is an open secret indeed. So we have, if you look at the budget of Harvard University, for example, more than $40 billion budget. Any Indian university is it having a IITs? We talk about Indian Institute of Technologies, Indian Institute of Management Institution, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore based. But any of our institution can able to have a $40 billion budget? Absolutely not. So there are so many African countries, for example, Burundi, or Rwanda, or Mali, or Chad, and Liberia, and probably Burkina Faso. If you look at the national budget of those countries, they are probably much smaller than the budget of one university, that is Harvard. So that is why Harvard University can able to attract the best minds of the world. And then they go to the Harvard and they do the research, they got the Nobel Prizes and so on. So this is how the research and development is being monopolized by some of the developed countries, because of the fact that they spend a huge amount of money on the research and development. I must also tell you one fact that, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the number of researchers India produced, we have produced about 216 researchers per every million people in India. So meaning that we got about 1.35 billion people in India. And so meaning that you can calculate at the rate of 216 per every million. So we got very few researchers. And then if you look at the total world researchers, we got 7.8 million researchers across the globe. They're all top-rated scientists. Now, so you can try to make a comparison here. So the world population is 7.8 billions as of now, and we got 7.8 million researchers in the world. Now, from that, India is not even ranking probably top 20 in terms of the top-rated research. Although we have the best human resources that are being, migrated to UK, USA, Europe, and elsewhere in the world, like myself, like Professor Angappa Gunasekaran. So, though the Indians have been doing completely, great, probably in terms of the politics, in terms of the academics, in terms of science and technology, in terms of medical professions, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, India is not in the global ranking in terms of research. Why? Because we have got, we spend only 0.62% of our GDP. That's our expenditure for the research. Even if you look at the budget that we allocate for the higher education is also probably very, very decimal and very, very small amount of money, maybe less than 1% of the GDP we spend. Whereas the other countries, they spend more than 5%. So we are, you can see, one can compare this. So they are spending more than 5 times and we are spending less than 1 time. So that is also a huge difference that we cannot able to motivate and attract a good number of researchers. Now, in Indian universities, we got more than 1,000 universities in India, and we got probably more than 51,000 colleges in India. Some of those colleges, they are much bigger than the universities in different parts of the world, including South Africa. So South African universities size plus minus, my university is the largest university in the country in terms of face-to-face teaching and learning, with more than 70,000 students. So 70,000 students you can find in any college, and I'm sure that Bharathiar University could have a few lakhs of students. So what I'm trying to tell you here, ladies and gentlemen, that so we do not have a research culture. Our duty as a professor is to teach. And but in the rest of the world, a professor sometimes doesn't require to teach. His fundamental duty is to supervise the master's and PhD students and publish the articles in top-rated journals. Now, in my portfolio, for instance, we got 4 divisions. I must comply every year or every quarter. I must try to fulfill these 4 areas that I need to complete my portfolio. One is teaching and learning. Second is research and innovation. And third is academic leadership and management. And fourth is the community service, community engagement and stakeholder relationship. So in those 4 areas, my performance has been measured by my institution. And the same goes with many other institutions across the globe. In Indian scenario, it's not like that. So there are many people, their duty is that they will be having so much load in teaching. Even the professor can teach 15, 16 hours per a week or 20 hours per a week in some cases. So then if we have, they do teach multiple courses. And then when we have a situation like that, when do they get time to do the research? And if we do not do the research, ladies and gentlemen, then if you could be the best teacher, you could be, one of the inspirational or motivational speaker who can able to motivate a lot of students through your teachings. You could be the guru, but the challenge is that as long as probably you teach in the classroom environment and then you leave the world, then the legacy probably will not be remained. That's why I was telling you that we remember by the citations of the research quality, and we remember lots of scholars. Even we talk about Aristotle, we talk about Socrates, we talk about Plato, we talk about so many other scientists across the globe. Why we talk? Because of their quality research, because of the contributions. So we mustn't forget the fact that we may be thinking that hey, I cannot able to reach that level. Even as an Indian researcher, I'm not competent enough to reach the global standards. Absolutely wrong. The fact of the matter is that we have Manu Smriti. Manu used to be the first medical scientist who made an immense contribution for the medical sciences. Even for the aeronautical engineering, our people made great contributions actually. So it is not that we cannot able to do it, as Professor Angappa also pointed out rightly, that there are some journals, they are biased. I do agree. I am also editor-in-chief. I'm the founder of an international journal of education, economics, and development, which is published by Inner Science UK and Switzerland. So I also associate editor of International Journal of African Journal of Science, Technology, Innovation, and Development. So we do know there are challenges that we have, but doesn't mean if your article is rejected, then you should think that it is better for you to learn more. If your article is accepted, it is good for you. So you can imagine that if it is rejected, you understand it is better. If it is accepted, it is good. So that is why sometimes whenever we look at the messages that we receive from the editors that your article is rejected, our heart breaks. And even Professor Angappa mentioned his own experience that even he received rejection letters probably recently. I mean, it's common factor. Even if Abhijit Banerjee, the Nobel laureate, probably publish an article, and if he send an article to an international journal, he may also have got the rejection. So rejection is part of our journey. So you mustn't be disheartened with the rejections. So that is one thing I would like to mention, ladies and gentlemen. I think in the interest of time, I also would like to mention that why Indian institutions are failed to have the better rankings in the international ranking framework. Every year we get international rankings, right? So even 2020, probably a few months ago, we got an international ranking as well. If you look at the international ranking, Indian institutions, although we consider our IITs and IIMs, they are two eyes of India. And every Indian or every probably company in the world, they look at IITs and IIM of India on the top actually. But when we look at the international ranking, Harvard University, Stanford University, and Yale University, those are the universities, or Oxford and Cambridge, those are the universities that are in the top rank, not our IITs. So if you look at realistically, the people, those who got rejected by the IITs and IIMs, they go to those Harvard and Stanford universities actually. Even many of our Indian students who have been rejected by these institutions, they went there. So, but what is the measurement and how do we able to measure the quality of the international ranking? That is the kind of fundamental issue. So there are a lot of parameters that based upon which they try to look at, they try to give the international ranking, particularly the Nobel Prizes that they obtain, the high quality research that they do. If you look at the Nature, Nature is one of the top rated journals in the world. How many people are publishing in the top rated journals? Like there are about close to 100 journals across the globe. They are considered to be the top rated journals. And then how many of our scholars are able to publish the papers in those journals? That's the kind of issue here. That's the thing that we need to think about. So, and when we look at the international rankings, most of these institutions that I mentioned, or most of those countries that I mentioned just now, those countries, universities only would able to publish in those journals. So that is giving a credit for them to be standing in the top 15 or top 20 or top 100 institutions in the whole world. None of our IITs and IIMs stand in the top 100 universities in the world. Why? Because of obvious reasons. We do have a lot of politics, which I'm not going to talk. I'm not a politician. I'm an academician. I'm an economist. I'm not going to jump into that. But we do have a lot of politics that also try to regulate the quality and the enthusiasm that our researchers, they got to do the quality research. There's no motivation actually. If you publish a top rated journal article, you are not rewarded or you are not awarded, you are not given any kind of special privileges or any honor or any better position or promotion. So that is why the Indian researchers, they will be demotivated. They think that it is our duty only to teach. That's the fundamental duty of a professor or associate professor or assistant professor and a lecturer. So that's how we see. That is why we are lagging behind in terms of international ranking. I also would like to mention one important point here that even South African universities, we got about 25 universities in South Africa, and for about 57 million people in the country. So meaning that we don't have a lot of, India got 1,000 universities and 51,000 colleges, whereas South Africa has got only maybe 52 colleges that we have, and maybe we got about 25 universities. Most of them are public sector universities in the country. Now, if we look at South African universities, many of them are ranking much better than our IITs and IIMs of India. And this is unbelievable. Now, if you realistically think about for example, the Northwest University where I'm currently working, it is standing probably on the top than when you compare with some of our IITs. UCT, we have got University of Cape Town. It is having much ahead of most of our institutions and most of the global institutions in the world. So Stellenbosch University, University of Pretoria, University of Witwatersrand, and so on and so forth. So this is a kind of scenario where we are spending more amount of money on the research, and we are also trying to promote the good quality research. In India, we have got so many journals. Even some of the students who do not have a PhD, they start a journal because of the unemployment. They try to promote it. They try to make some kind of a few cents for the survival purposes. There is no quality. ISSN, anybody can get. It's not a big issue. International Standard Serial Number. But getting ISSN number, even some of our professors, I was surprised to note that this journal has got ISSN. So they do not know what is the value of ISSN actually. They think that ISSN means it is recognized and it is top-rated journal like a Scopus Index or ISI, Thomson Reuters Web of Science Index journal. So these are some of the awareness problems that some of our Indian faculty members or Indian staff members, Indian professors, they got. So ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to change this scenario. We need to work towards that. And we have got UGC care list, for example. Nobody cares about UGC care list in the world. In South Africa, we don't even consider if it is a 60,000 or 62,000 journals that are listed by UGC. We don't even look at them. We only look at Scopus. We look at, as I mentioned just now, about Thomson Reuters Web of Science or ISI, International Scientific Institute Index journals. We look at probably IBSS, International Bibliography of Social Sciences, which used to be maintained by London School of Economics and Political Science some time back. Now it has been taken over by ProQuest. So these are some of the databases that we look at. And if you look at the number of journals that have been published by these kind of indexing agencies, they're probably less than 30,000. 30,000 journals. There are many journals that are also been listed in the Scopus, but unfortunately, they become a money-minting business probably entities, and where they do not look at the quality and the rigor of research. As long as if somebody has got the capacity to pay the money, they probably one way or the other, they will say that we put the comma here, put the full stop there, change the word there. That is not the review process, ladies and gentlemen. A review process, an expert should give a proper and honest, critical review comments that can improve the quality of the research. So that is lagging behind. Of course, it is also happening in different other parts of the world. It's not only in India, but it is happening more in India than other parts of the world. That is absolutely a scary part, and we all need to think about, we should be concerned about. So that is why the quality of the research articles that are being published in some of the Indian journals is not that top rated. So that put us in a tight spot where we are going down in terms of our research international standing. So that needs to be fixed. All the vice chancellors of India, all the deans, all the pro vice chancellors, all the research directors, and all the professors concerned, we need to share the research skills. Our people, they are good with different soft skills actually. Different like EVUs, MATLAB, we have SPSS, and we got PLS, smart. There's a software that can help us to develop the structural equation modeling. So we need to have researchers and a top-rated Indian scientists. They should be able to collaborate with some of the junior institutions or some of the institutions which are not there on the top ranking within Indian context. We need to work with them. For example, IITs and IIMs in India, they must work in hand with some of the state universities, some of the rural-based universities. We must try to train those people. We must try to encourage to promote the quality research. So if we do that, ladies and gentlemen, we could able to achieve some of our desired objectives. And so we need to promote our research culture. So research is something, there is a saying that in olden days, people used to say the person who doesn't sleep properly, the person who doesn't eat the food properly in proper timings, the person who doesn't smile, the person who doesn't have a social life, the person who doesn't laugh, he is considered as a saint or a sage. That's what we used to think, ladies and gentlemen. But now we are thinking that that's the same thing, the same characteristic is applied to our Indian or maybe many research scholars across the globe. So once you begin to develop the research ambition, and then you always have the qualities that I just mentioned, like a saint and sage, you will be having those qualities where you isolate yourself, you will be thinking more about your research and how to solve those research problems and so on and so forth. So that is the kind of scenario. We must always remember that we must think everybody, whatever research that we are doing here, if we read different journals and different literature, that everybody reads the same literature. So that is part of research process, that we read the same thing, but when we think, we all should think differently. We should think unique way where we can begin to create a new innovative ideas with our research. That's where the researcher make the contributions. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank, because of the interest of time, I think, I don't know, I still, do I have any few minutes, and or else, but let me just conclude my presentation, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking the organizers once again, Bharathiar University, the school, Bharathiar University School of Management and Entrepreneurship Development, for doing such a wonderful job, bringing all of us together under one platform as part of this 1 week faculty development program, and to share ideas and insights from different people. So that is, I would like to thank the Vice Chancellor and then the organizers, particularly Dr. Rupa, Dr. Uma Devi, and all other organizers of this particular event. Thank you very much for the opportunity once again. And if you got any questions or answer clarifications, you please welcome to approach me. And thank you all.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. That was really a very interesting, involved, and excellent speech given by you, sir. It was very informative, and I hope all the participants will really be benefited out of your speech. So now, shall we have a few questions, sir, from the participants? Sure. Okay.
Definitely.
So now the participants are requested to raise your questions. Please have a few, very few questions. Yes, you can start now. Anybody?
Hello. Hello.
So, sir, I'm Anand here.
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
How is the research and development in South Africa?
Research and development in South Africa. Well, if I answer that quickly, as I mentioned to you a few minutes ago, that internationally, South African universities are standing in a better position than most of our universities in country, India. I noticed that in the 2020 rankings, Bharathiar University is also one of the probably top 50 universities in the country. So the UCT we have got 25 universities in South Africa. Out of those 25 universities, at least 8 to 9 universities, they are in the top 250 or 300 universities in the whole world. So that is a kind of scenario that we are sitting with, and so meaning that we give credit for the researchers, we acknowledge the research, we also support them, we provide some monetary benefits. For example, let me tell you that the fact that the DHET, Department of Higher Education and Training, provides 120,000 rands. That is about plus minus about 5 to 6 lakh rupees for every article that was published in Scopus Index Journal to the university, not to the author, not to the professor, not to the scholar who published the article, but as a token of appreciation to the institution they provide. And maybe a small portion of that, about 10% of that money will be given to attend conferences, to attend some kind of training workshops to the concerned researchers and professors. So that is a kind of motivation. So we need to change this scenario in India. We need to completely change that UGC care list. We have to adopt that ISI, Thomson Reuters indexed, Scopus index journals. We strictly follow on that. We must try to motivate. Government of India is spending billions and billions of rupees on various projects. And some of the projects are not successful, not noteworthy, and most of the money has been wasted. And whereas in the human resource development, we cannot able to probably promote our human resources in terms of the research. That is why most of our researchers and great scholars, they are leaving India, they are going and settling in other parts of the world. So we need to motivate, we need to keep up those people, we need to encourage them to publish in good quality journals and good quality research.
Thank you very much, sir. It's very informative.
So can I ask a question?
Yes,
I'm Dr. Venugopal. Sir, I don't know if it's a controversial question, but anyway, you have touched upon a lot of topics regarding the state of Indian universities, and it is very pathetic that we are still at the bottom level. And as you rightly pointed out, most of the problem lies in many other issues which are not to be discussed here. But can you suggest at least some ways, at least in which we can improve our universities?
That is a bit of complex question, sir. To answer that, in a very nutshell and in a very briefly, that you see, we have great scholars in India, and then the number of institutions in India also, there are many. But the challenge is that we are unable to encourage the researchers. So first of all, we need to cultivate the research culture at even the college level, and then we also make it compulsory for every staff member that they need to publish at least 1 or 2 articles in some relatively good journals. So we need to set the standards, we need to set the bar, and we need to, if somebody publish an article in a Scopus Index journal, why can't we incentivize providing some financial support to such kind of people and encourage people to attend conferences, to learn from the different stalwarts and different experts. So that is the kind of culture we need to promote. And
adding to one point to that, sir, can't we have administrative level academicians taking decisions rather than other people at top level?
Yeah, that is also another challenge, sir, in Indian scenario, that most of the vice chancellors in India, unfortunately, I have to mention this, they are not good researchers as such. Probably to become a vice chancellor, you don't need to be a good researcher. You should be a good politician who can manipulate the politics, who can try to balance. So that is the kind of scenario that we are sitting with.
In India.
But we should, in Indian scenario. And we need to change that. Even the MHRD, Minister of Human Resource Development, and the Prime Minister and all the stakeholders, we need to change this system.
Otherwise,
We need
brain
to-
drain will happen, sir. Brain drain will keep on happening.
Absolutely, the same thing is happening. Every year, hundreds and thousands of our people are migrating from India to different parts of the world, just because of this reason. And if you give the right chance, the right opportunity for the right person to administer and to improve the system, we can see a completely different face of India.
Yes, sir. That's right. Thank you.
Sir, this is Girija here. Can I have a question? Yes, sir. Good morning. So it was a good section. And one doubt, that is, we have two type of journal. One is paid journal and non-paid journal. And we have Scopus list in both paid and non-paid journals. And is that paid journals are underestimated than non-paid journals? Anything like that?
Well, that's a good question. In fact, I must also, in the interest of time, I couldn't able to cover some of those issues. Maybe if I get another opportunity, I'll try to address some of those issues. Yeah, as you rightly said, that within the Scopus, some of the journals, they are asking money between the range of $100 to even $2,000, for example. $2,000, I think even the professor in Indian universities, they don't get $2,000 as a salary, I guess. Maybe some of the universities, they may get, central universities, they may pay about 2 lakh rupees or 2,50,000 rupees for a professor as a salary. But in most of the state universities, most of the colleges, aided colleges or private colleges in the country, they get plus minus about 10,000 rupees to maybe 50,000 rupees on an average. That's the range. Now, how do you expect a person who pays probably more than that salary, more than that monthly salary, just to publish an article? That is a kind of scenario that we are sitting with. And to address that question, madam, that we do have that scenario, we do have a resentment that if a paid journal is mostly like, they don't look at the quality as such. There could be very few journals, they still look at the quality, they may still ask the payment because of the fact that they wanted to meet some administrative costs and so on and so forth, or publication costs, so on and so forth. So that's why they are charging some nominal fees. But many of them, what they are happening for the past 5-6 years down the line, there are so many journals that are started online publication. And the moment you publish, you send an article, in 1 week you got a acceptance letter, and then they publish in another 2-3 weeks time. That is not a kind of publication, actually. And we must think about that. If they ask the payment, I don't encourage you to make the payment and publish your articles in such kind of journal. So remember that in South Africa, if such kind of journals, we have got KRE, Kamala Raj Enterprises, which has been publishing for more than 70-80 years in India. They have started so many journals, actually. So all of those journals are Scopus indexed or IBSS indexed. But what they are doing is that they are taking money, and then as long as you have the capacity to pay, then your article can be published. They do, a little bit of reviews here and there. That is not an expert review, actually. So I still encourage people from our country that they shouldn't publish their articles in the paid journals. And that is also seen, even some of the IITs and IIMs also, when they're recruiting the staff member, they see this point. Is it this professor or this candidate published an article in a paid journal or non-paid journal? So my answer would be, let us, there are so many unpaid journals where you don't need to pay. For example, I was editing 2 journals as editor-in-chief, and we don't charge any publication fee. And even Professor Angappa Gunasekaran has also been editing many journals. So we don't charge. But if they are charging money, then we need to be a little bit careful about that.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was a clear answer. Thank you, sir.
Sir, my name is Babu.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, my name is Babu. I'm working as an assistant professor in tourism. So since you are there in South Africa, so can you please make a clarification? What are all the scope for conducting collaborative research programs between India and South African universities? Is there any opportunity, sir?
Yes, sir. That's an important question as well. South Africa is also a partner in the BRICS. So meaning that Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So we are all, within that particular group, BRICS group. So therefore, in line with that, South African government, we have got NRF, National Research Foundation. There are the call for papers, call for research proposals, they keep coming. And so what they do is that Nehru fellowships from Indian side, a direct fellowship from South African side. So there are the giant research studies that are being initiated by both the governments, South African government and also the Indian government. So there are, you can please go to collaborative research with NRF, and maybe any calls for every 6 months or every now and then there are different calls coming up. So if somebody is interested, an Indian professor, whoever is interested in that particular field, what they are looking for, they can tie up with a South African professor and they can try to do the collaborators. That is very much possible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Yes, I request the participants. Any questions?
Madam,
Further?
can you just ask one question?
Yes, sir. Please carry on.
Am I audible?
Yeah, sir.
I am Wing Commander Sri Kumar. Served about 25 years in Air Force, about 10 years in corporate. I just joined my research work about a year back. What he said is my 35 years experience. Education system has come to a stage where knowledge about the people in power has become more important than the knowledge of the subject for the people. My only one request to Dr. Rena is, what suggestion will you be able to give to the government to change that scenario? Because day by day this is depleting and the system of imparting knowledge is coming down day by day. In fact, you see that some of the young professors, their knowledge is relatively though they are well placed. So even the UGC care, there are a lot of material which can be published, but unfortunately the rate at which it's published is being very high. My only submission is in a university like this and Dr. Rana being there, what suggestion will you be able to give to the government so that the system can be cleaned?
Thank you, sir, for that question. Indeed, if you look at Singapore, Singapore is such a tiny nation. They are not even, Singapore is not even bigger than some of our districts, actually.
Yeah,
so our many of our Indian districts, they are much bigger than Singapore.
It's hardly about 70
Singapore,
square kilometers.
Yes. It is actually about less than 700 square kilometers area, sir.
Right.
So what happens is that Singapore believed on three fundamental things. One is honesty, second is meritocracy, and then third is pragmatism. So on these three pillars, Singapore constructed without having any resources, without having any kind of any kind of other supports or the land size or whatsoever the reason, but Singapore elevated itself to one of the top 10 countries in the world. Now, the same model and same principles that India should adopt and India should implement strictly on these three pillars. And if we begin to build our nation, rebuild our nation based upon these three pillars, honesty, pragmatism, and then we can also reach probably greater heights, and then we can accomplish whatever every Indian citizen is want to see this major change in our country.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, dear participants, any further questions?
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, I am Dr. Ravishankar from Chennai. Sir, I have a small question. See, people are recommending to use some validated scales. Like if I want to do a study on perception, there are already proven scales are available. They are asking us to use it for the better use. But there are a number of people, they have already constructed and already tested the perception. Say, for example, if there are 10 authors have come with a scale questionnaire, proven questionnaire, which one we can take, sir?
Well, actually, I still refer that most of the questionnaires that are being developed by different researchers across the globe or within India as well. It is better, you need to see what is the standard. There are so many standard questionnaires that you can find. You need to see whether the questionnaire can be adaptable, and you need to look at what research questions you are posing. What is the key objective that you are having as part of your research? So in line with that, you need to make a paradigm shift. It is not a complete adaptation of the same questionnaire, then you try to do the research. So it doesn't have the good value. So I still advise that you need to change, you need to modify. Research is also a process where you make the modification or manipulations whenever it is necessary in line with your own objective and your own research area. Thank you.
Sir, what are the opportunities for postdoc in South Africa, sir? Postdoc fellowships.
Yes, sir. I do have postdocs right now. We do have opportunities for postdocs. Right now, I have a student from Nigeria and also a student from Zimbabwe as my postdocs. So we do have tremendous opportunities for the postdocs actually. So if somebody is good enough in terms of the EVUs or in terms of some softwares, and those who are very much interested to do the quality research, or they can approach me or any other professors based in South Africa. We'll try to encourage them. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions? Shall we close it, sir?
Yes, please. I got another meeting actually, which
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I am grateful to you, sir, for your kind consent and for making this program a valuable one. Thank you, Dr. Ravinder.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. I'll see you sometime later.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm happy to thank the Vice Chancellor of Bharathiar University, the Registrar, Director in charge, all the faculty members, and more importantly, the participants for your support. So I request Ms. Maria to further give the instructions to the participants, if any, to be disseminated. Over to Maria.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Participants, now our morning session has finished and we will have the next session today afternoon by 2 o'clock. The link has been shared to you through your mail as well as in the group. So kindly find it and we'll again meet at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Thank you. See you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Also, kindly fill the feedback form and submit it as circulated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and Maria.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Maria ma'am.